Good morning. Over the years, and particularly in around 2009 right through to 2013, I sent many letters into the Belfast Telegraph, and many of these actually were published. In fact, I had about 250 published over a period of about 5 years. And a lot of these letters were to do with education. Obviously, coming from a teaching background, I taught in a local secondary school for 30 years. I was interested in all things to do with classroom management and discipline, and why in particular many of our secondary schools were performing badly. Here's a letter I wrote in 2009. 3rd of November 2009. Dear Writeback, as I mull over the whole school transfer debate, I often wonder why some parents are determined, come hell or high water, to secure a place for their child in a grammar school. Can it all be explained away, as some believe, by class prejudice and snobbishness, or are there other factors at work? While we have some successful secondary schools, the reality is that far too many are performing poorly. Failing schools can be identified in a number of ways: weak head teachers and senior management teams, poor discipline, low public exam results, and poor staff morale. The role of the secondary school head teacher is vital. A hard-working head teacher who is passionate about his school and values his staff can turn a failing school around. Good head teachers are always highly visible around school, routinely dropping in on classes to encourage and inspire. They do not constantly sit in their offices or on the phone or in front of a computer, nor do they disappear from school for days on end on some important educational course or to chair some committee. It is never beneath or beyond them to teach when a classroom teacher is absent and they have good relations with their staff. It is always a team effort. A weak, lazy, or ineffective head teacher can quickly destroy years of good work and the prized reputation of any successful secondary school. Head teachers should be made accountable for how they run our secondary schools. It is a well-paid job, but carries awesome responsibility. As in any job, if a head teacher is deemed incompetent, he or she should face the prospect of removal from post. Remarkably, there are no real mechanisms in place to do this. Failing schools have weak disciplinary procedures. Often there are no consequences for bad behaviour, and as standards fall, teaching and learning will suffer. Failing schools have high numbers of disaffected pupils. Parents of such pupils often place little or no value on education and will react negatively towards the enforcement of any homework or discipline policy. The plight of our secondary schools is not helped when nearby grammars to fill places cream off average ability pupils. This leaves secondary schools with a very high percentage of weak students who have no academic pupil role models to whom they can aspire. While grammars will expel disruptive pupils, the usual method being to make life so difficult for them that they leave voluntarily, the Department of Education's answer to these problem pupils is to push them into the nearest secondary school. This receiving school is expected to somehow cope. Understandably, major problems often arise, but as the Department of Education has closed most of our behavioural learning support provision, there is now nowhere else for such challenging pupils to go. Expulsion from secondary schools is not an option due to the amount of bureaucracy involved, and the Department of Education simply won't allow it. Good secondary schools are characterised by good student attendance, pupils arriving at school on time, good student behaviour, good staff morale, and the school held in high esteem by parents, students and the community. Perhaps if major efforts were made to raise standards of behaviour and achievement in our secondary schools, they would become a more attractive alternative, and there would not be the yearly stampede of parents attempting to get their children into the grammars. Education ministers regularly inform us that they want to make every school a good school, but until they tackle the issue of our poorly performing secondary schools, this annual stampede towards the grammars will always happen. Yours faithfully, TJ McClean, former yearhead and secondary school teacher of 30 years.